Okay, this is Maryland Law 22-228, and what it gets into is what makes up a school bus. Markings, warning devices, two amber lights in the front, two amber lights in the rear, two red lights in the front, two red lights in the rear, and just everything, what you can put onto a bus, what you can or can't alter. But then we get into number 4, subsection D. Except as otherwise provided in this section, every school vehicle driver shall put into operation alternating flashing amber lights not less than 100 feet before bringing the vehicle to a full stop for the purpose of receiving or discharging passengers, and place into operation the alternating flashing red lights upon stopping. So legally, in Maryland, a bus only has to give you 100 feet of amber light notice. And when they stop, this law instructs them to immediately put on the red lights once they've stopped. I guess the question is, can the bus driver put the red lights on separately from the stop arm? I'm not sure how in that state, if they're wired together to be one thing or if they're two separate entities on the controls, or if a bus driver is taught to immediately deploy the arm right when they hit the red lights. So, little confusion there. Okay, gang, you made it to the end. This is Maryland, the stop arm and driver safety rules conclusion. We went over Maryland Law 21-706, stopping for the bus. One big thing to draw from that is you have to stop 20 feet from the front bumper if you're on the approach, or 20 feet from the rear bumper if you're coming up from behind. But remember, that 20 feet will take away from your reactionary time, or your perception reactionary stopping distance time. We went over 21, and in Maryland I could not find that codified in a law, that reaction, perception, stopping distance, but it is in the CDL manual for the state. Maryland Law 21-706.1, this allows for the stop arm camera. The one thing I want you to take away from that is that, according to the law, a local law enforcement agency hires a technician to review and approve the citation. But I'm not sure if that technician signs off on the citation to validate it. I don't know if it needs a sworn officer or not. There's a little confusion on that, but that's something to check out in your local jurisdiction. And what sort of certifications does that technician need? And are those certifications just considered training? And is that training done by the private vendor, or is it done through the law enforcement agency in itself, or the county lawyer, or the county law part? County attorney, my apologies. We went over the Maryland CDL. Section 2 I thought stood out a lot because that is the commercial driver's license requirements. Perception is something that will be the same for everybody. Whether you're in a large truck or you're in a car, we all see the same. We all react the same. The only part that I drew from that was different would be the stopping distance. The actual time after the brake's applied that it takes your vehicle to come to a stop, because cars will be lighter but trucks will be heavier. They're going to have a longer time to have to stop, and those were in ideal situations. So the road was considered dry, flat, level, clear day. We also went through the Maryland CDL Section 10. Now the Section 10 is different than Maryland Law 22-228. Section 10 recommends 200 feet of warning light. And then the bus driver is to make sure the area is clear before deploying the stop arm and the red light notice. I believe it should be red light notice, then pull the stop arm. But again, I'm not sure how the buses are wired up with their controls now. I believe there was one state, again, if I can find it, I'll put it on the video. It was a while back ago, but they made it seem like the arm and the lights were connected together because they were adding extended stop arms to it, and they said it operates the same as every bus where you just extend the arm and the red lights will engage, rather than the red lights being independent from the stop arm. Then going down, because the 200 feet, again, back to section 10, the 200 feet will conflict with the section 2 on perception reactionary time on the approach, but the part where they can make that up to make it safer, to make sure cars can safely clear out, is that it's on the driver to wait for the area to clear before deploying the arms and the lights. And then finally, Maryland Law 22-228. I don't think anybody touched this. I could be wrong. This is the warning light notice requirements and stopping. And what this says is at least 100 feet of warning notice. So your state has basically, a bus driver operating by just the laws of the state can short you what their CDL says for reaction perceptionary time. And again, if you're on the approach, you're going to get less than that amount of notice because you have 2 points closing the distance of each other from the point that they say you need to engage. So 100 feet, you're on the approach. If you get 80% of that 100 feet, you're still only looking at 80 feet, but then you need to be 20 feet off the bumper. So that'll put you at a point of 80 feet, 20 feet, 60 feet of amber light notice, which on a 25 mile an hour road, I believe the perception time was 65. I don't have it in front of me right now while I'm speaking, but you see what I'm talking about on that. And then if you are further up the road, you might not even see the bus because you have cars that will be passing through. You might not get caught if you're 100 feet from the bus when it puts its amber light. But the car 200 feet behind you in thick traffic might not even see the bus. And it gets into the immediate red light when the bus is stopped. So this is actually the law telling the bus driver that the bus driver needs to engage red light and pull the arm out, or just engage red light right when it stops. That's the stop and pop. That's where you won't have the reactionary time, because if that red light is wired to the stop arm, that would automatically pull out when they engage red light, or if the stop arm is the only way to deploying the stop arm is the only way to engage the red light, then you're not going to have your 2 to 3 seconds in front of the bumper. You're not going to, in my opinion, you're not going to have the reactionary time you need to safely come to a stop. You'll be towards the end or even past the bus, depending on the speed limit of the road. Okay, that concludes this. I wish you all safe driving. Stop for a bus if you can. If you see it, just be cautious about this. I'm getting into the fine details of where I believe there's an impossible window if certain situations are lined up. And this is how they'll burn you. All right? Like and subscribe. First time saying this, so if you thought this was useful, please put your comments in. Let me know about things. Don't identify yourself. I don't want people to give out their names or anything like that. But if you have an interesting story, please put it in the comments. I like to see what's going on in other states, and this is the best way for me to reach everybody. So, all right, drive safe.